Could a seemingly ordinary Wednesday morning shift the trajectory of an entire life? For Imun Williams, a pregnant school bus driver, wasn't a question she'd ever pondered. She navigated the winding roads of Maple Creek for 5 years, her route as familiar as the lines on her palm. 37 kids, ranging from giggling kindergartners to brooding high schoolers, filled her yellow chariot each day. Imun, at 28, was known for her calm demeanor, her gentle smile, and the way she remembered every child's name, a feat considering the ever-shifting roster. Today, the sky was a crisp, clear blue, the kind that promised a beautiful autumn day. The air inside the bus was a cacophony of chatter, punctuated by the occasional squeal of laughter. It was, by all accounts, a perfectly normal Wednesday. The route meandered through quiet suburban streets, past neatly manicured lawns and sleepy houses. Little Lily, a kindergartner with bright red bows in her hair, was telling Imun about her pet hamster, Mr. Nibbles. A group of middle schoolers were huddled in the back, engrossed in a card game. The older teenagers, mostly plugged into their headphones, stared out the windows, lost in their own worlds. Imun made the usual stops, the rhythmic hiss of the brakes and the opening and closing of the doors a familiar soundtrack to her mornings. About 2 hours into the route, a subtle change infiltrated the familiar atmosphere. At first, Imun dismissed it, a faint, acrid smell like burning plastic. She attributed it to something outside, perhaps a nearby construction site or a neighbor burning leaves. She checked her mirrors, glanced at the dashboard. All seemed normal. But the smell persisted, growing steadily stronger. It began to take on a chemical tinge, a sharper, more unsettling odor. A few of the children started to notice. "Miss Imun, what's that smell?" asked a small voice from the front. It was Michael, a second grader known for his insatiable curiosity. Imun forced a reassuring smile. "I'm not sure, sweetie. Maybe it's just something outside." But her heart was beginning to beat a little faster. Her palms felt slightly damp. A knot of unease tightened in her stomach. A primal instinct, amplified by the precious life she carried within. "My baby," she thought, a wave of protectiveness washing over her. The smell was now undeniably strong, a pungent, burning odor that made her eyes water slightly. A thin wisp of gray smoke began to curl up from the front of the bus, near the engine. Imun's stomach dropped. This was no longer something she could ignore. She glanced at the fuel gauge, the temperature gauge. Everything seemed within normal limits, yet the evidence before her eyes and nose told a different story. The school was just around the corner, less than a 5-minute drive. A part of her, the part that clung to routine, to the hope that this was just a minor glitch, urged her to keep going. "We can make it," she thought. "It's so close." But another part of her, a deeper, more instinctive voice, screamed no. The image of the smoke, the acrid smell, the fear in the children's eyes. It was too much. With a sudden, decisive movement, Imun pulled the bus over to the side of the road, engaging the hazard lights. Her voice, though laced with urgency, remained remarkably calm. "Okay, everyone," she announced, her voice projecting clearly over the now silent bus. "We need to get off the bus. Please do it quickly and quietly. Line up by the fence over there." She pointed to a chain-link fence bordering a nearby field. The children, sensing the seriousness in her tone, obeyed without question. Years of fire drills, though never quite this real, had prepared them. Lily, clutching Mr. Nibble's picture, was first in line, her lower lip trembling. Michael, his curiosity replaced by a wide-eyed fear, followed closely behind. The older students, their teenage indifference momentarily shattered, helped the younger ones off the bus. Imun ushered the children out of the bus quickly. Some stumbled. 16-year-old Tom helped 7-year-old Anna after she tripped. Imun did a head count twice. 37, all safe. As the last child, a lanky high schooler named Jason, stepped onto the grassy shoulder, Imun turned back to look at the bus. Her breath caught in her throat. The front of the bus was engulfed in flames. Thick, black smoke billowed into the sky, obscuring the once bright blue. The fire crackled and roared, consuming the yellow metal with terrifying speed. The heat radiated outwards, a palpable wave that pushed against her skin. The children, huddled together by the fence, stared in stunned silence. Some began to cry, their small hands clutching each other. Lily started sobbing, burying her face in Jason's shoulder. The reality of what had just happened, of how close they had come to disaster, was beginning to sink in. Imun pulled out her phone, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped it. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher's voice was calm, professional. My school bus, it's on fire, Imun stammered, trying to keep her voice steady. I've got 37 kids, we're all off the bus, but the fire, it's spreading fast. She gave the dispatcher their location, her voice cracking with emotion. The wait felt like an eternity. The roar of the fire, the cries of the children, the frantic beating of her own heart. It was a symphony of chaos and fear. A few neighbors, alerted by the smoke and the commotion, rushed over, offering blankets and words of comfort. One woman, recognizing Imun, ran back to her house to get water bottles. The wail of sirens pierced the air, growing louder with each passing second. 2 fire trucks, their lights flashing, screeched to a halt beside the burning bus. Firefighters, clad in heavy gear, jumped out and began unfurling hoses. Jets of water arced through the air, hitting the flames with a forceful hiss. The black smoke gradually turned white, then gray, as the fire began to succumb to the onslaught. But the bus was a charred wreck. The once cheerful yellow paint was now blistered and blackened. The windows were shattered, the seats melted and twisted. It was a heartbreaking sight, a stark reminder of the potential tragedy that had been averted. Paramedics arrived, checking Imun and the children for smoke inhalation and injuries. Miraculously, everyone was unharmed, physically at least. The emotional toll, however, was evident. The children were shaken, clinging to Imun and to each other. Soon, a stream of cars began to arrive, parents rushing to the scene, their faces etched with worry and relief. There were tearful reunions, tight embraces, and whispered words of gratitude. "Thank you, Miss Williams," one mother sobbed, clutching her daughter tightly. "You saved my baby's life." The school principal, Mr. Harrison, arrived, his face pale with shock. He surveyed the scene, his eyes lingering on the burnt-out shell of the bus, then on Imun, standing amidst the relieved parents and shaken children. "Imun," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you're a hero." The next few days were a blur of media attention, heartfelt thank you notes, and small gifts from grateful parents. Imun was hailed as a hero, her calm courage and quick thinking lauded by everyone. She was interviewed by local news channels, her story spreading quickly across social media. After a few days of well-deserved rest, Imun returned to work. The school had arranged for a temporary bus, and the children greeted her with cheers and handmade cards. It wasn't the same bus, but the familiar route, the familiar faces brought a sense of normalcy back to her life. But everything had changed. The experience had left an indelible mark on her. She looked at the children on her bus with a new perspective, a deeper appreciation for the preciousness of life. She thought about her own unborn child and the responsibility she felt to protect them, to keep them safe. The fear, the terror of that day, would never completely disappear, but it was overshadowed by a profound sense of gratitude, a quiet pride in her own actions. She had faced a terrifying situation, and she had risen to the occasion. She had learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. As she drove the familiar route, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and gold, she smiled. The children were chattering and laughing, their fear seemingly forgotten. But Imun knew, deep down, that they, too, had been changed by the experience. They had witnessed, firsthand, the power of courage, the importance of quick thinking, and the extraordinary bravery of an ordinary woman who had become, in a single, terrifying moment, a true hero. And maybe, someday, she would name her daughter Phoenix, a symbol of rising from the ashes, stronger and more beautiful than before.